Well, Tony and Pepper, for the most part, persevere through hundreds and hundreds of issues in the comics. So that relationship is rooted in our history and our lore. But never mind that. When you have Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow, what I would say is arguably the best screen pairing in decades. Of course, you're going to play into that, and we've had that fun in two movies, and you're going to see that in Iron Man 3 as it continues to develop. And it is an unusual thing for an action movie, for an action franchise, to have that sort of stable relationship. And there are rocky patches, and she quits usually every other movie and threatens to not come back. But what we'll see of them in Iron Man 3 is that union sort of coming even closer together, seeing where they are at the start of the movie, the trials that we put them through, where they end up at the end. Without giving too much away, we're going to see how that relationship is certainly strained over the course of the picture. But they're two characters unique again in a big summer blockbuster entertainment that you want to see together. Rhodey is becoming much more of his own man, much more of his own character, as is Pepper. They're not just the people going, "Oh, Tony, don't do that, Tony. Oh, you're driving us crazy." We've sort of played that out, we think, in the first few movies. Nobody's going to control Tony necessarily. But they're going to be able to give him information. And Rhodey, in particular, has a very, very key role in the villain agenda of this movie and in the overall stakes of this movie.
The journey of Iron Man, and frankly, the journey of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe started with the journey of Tony Stark. And the exciting thing about Iron Man 3 is, yes, it's the culmination from Iron Man 1 and 2, but it's also a follow-up to the Avengers. So it's one of the first situations I can think of where you have a movie that is kind of a sequel to two movies. And in a way that liberates it to be more unique than anything that has come before, which is what we're most excited about. The reason we cast Robert in Iron Man 1 is because he's a spectacular actor. And since then, he's obviously become the biggest movie star in the world and has shown us each time why that is. He's not resting on his laurels. He doesn't come in and say, "I'm the biggest star in the world." He comes in and shows you why he's the biggest star in the world. And the way he does that is by giving this unbelievable performance that can be, of course, snarky and, of course, funny, which Tony Stark is all the time and Robert can do in his sleep. But it's the more touching moments. There's scenes with Pepper in Iron Man 3 that are really emotional and really loving in a fun way, not in a dour sort of a movie of the week way, but in a fun way and in a way that you don't usually see between men and women in these kind of action movies. When you take Iron Man and early on in the development of the movie, we did talk about back to basics for Tony. Because we want to see him just use his brain. We want to see what can he do when the odds are against him and he doesn't have anything. How's he going to get out of this one? And that also allows you to be with Tony. How do you take a billionaire, industrialist playboy and make him relatable and make him into somebody that you can root for? One is Robert's just so likable and Tony's so likable and he's such a great hero. The other way is take away everything he has and you root for the guy. How do you make the biggest superhero in the world into an underdog in a small town in the middle of the United States? Take away everything he has. And that's really what we wanted to see there, is how he then fights to build and get it back. We've been fans of Guy for years and years, and have wanted to cast him in almost every movie we've done. And this was the one where the timing worked out perfectly. And Aldrich Killian is somebody who is from the comics. It was a very sort of kernel of a character in the comics that we've expanded in a very big way in this movie. And we always want, with the Tony Stark films, to have a character that represents a certain angle of his persona, of Tony's persona. And Killian is somebody who wants to be a mover and a shaker, who wants to be a leader, sort of a leader of industry, in a way that Tony frankly doesn't even want to be anymore, and is extremely successful at it.